Imagine waking up every single day, only to discover that the universe does not care that you're alive. No purpose, no grand plan, just you and the weight of your own existence.
Albert Camus didn't write a comforting book. He wrote a bomb. A philosophical explosion that shatters every illusion we cling to. What if the greatest act of rebellion isn't changing the world, but refusing to be crushed by its meaninglessness?
Today, we dive into a question so dangerous that Camus called it the only true philosophical problem. Is life worth living when nothing matters?
Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, we're going to walk right up to the edge of the absurd confident. And maybe, just maybe, discover the strange, powerful freedom hiding there.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, all.
I'm Emma.
And I'm John. Welcome to Book Podcast.
Wow. Okay, so after an intro like that, I feel like we just set the stage for, I don't know, an existential disaster movie.
It does have that vibe, doesn't it? But, the sources we're diving into today, this really structured journey through Albert Camus's core ideas, they kind of suggest the disaster movie is actually a love story.
A love story. Okay, you have to unpack that one for me.
Well, a love story with life itself.
Yeah.
Our mission today is to really distill what Camus' work means for living a vibrant modern life right here, right now.
In a world that he says is meaningless. That's the irony, right?
That's the whole game. We're going to see how he just completely flips the script.
Yeah, because the conventional wisdom, the thing we all sort of feel, is that meaninglessness leads to despair, to nihilism, to just giving up.
Right. And Camus comes along and says, no, you've got it all wrong. It leads to freedom.
Freedom.
Total freedom. Meaninglessness isn't a sentence, It's the ultimate permission slip.
A permission slip to do what?
To live.
Yeah.
To live an intense, a passionate, a truly free existence. But, and this is the big but, getting there means you have to confront some really, really uncomfortable truths first.
It sounds like it requires peeling back every layer of comfort we've been taught to rely on, like every single one.
Every single one. When you first encounter this idea of the absurd, it feels massive, overwhelming. It's like you're staring down this huge, unpaid existential debt.
But Camus says what? That the debt's been cleared.
He says the debt is clear because there was never a lender in the first place.
Oh, wow.
There's no universal purpose you have to repay.
Right.
You're off the hook.
Okay, so before we dive into the deep end, we need context. We can't talk about these ideas in a vacuum. Where was he coming from?
Exactly. The historical context is crucial. I mean, you have to remember, Camus was writing right after the Second World War.
Yeah.
Just try to imagine that collective trauma, the traditional structures, religion, empire, absolute morality, political systems. They had all, in his view, basically committed mass suicide.
They had proven themselves bankrupt, utterly bankrupt.
Totally. So this wasn't some abstract academic thought experiment for him. It was an emotional, a cultural, an intellectual response to just global devastation.
He had to find a way to live, to rebuild human value, when all the old foundations had just been pulverized.
Precisely. And that's why it's so important to place him next to his peers, especially the existentialists. People always lump him in with Jean-Paul Sartre.
Right. They're always mentioned in the same breath.
Always. But their starting points were fundamentally different. While Sartre was really focused on our radical freedom and our responsibility to define ourselves, that whole existence precedes essence idea.
Yeah.
Camus was focused on something else. He was focused on the fundamental disharmony between us and the cosmos itself.
So if I've got this right, the existentialist, like Sartre says, I choose my purpose and I am responsible for it.
Yes, that's a great way to put it. And the absurdist, Camus, says, I choose my purpose, despite the universe making it abundantly clear that no purpose exists.
Okay. The emphasis is different.
Completely. The focus shifts from this, internal struggle of self-definition to the external permanent tension between our human need for meaning and the universe's absolute refusal to provide it.
So he just saw the search for some kind of built-in external meaning as futile, a dead end.
A total dead end. And that conflict, that permanent state of intellectual friction, that's what he named the absurd.
And understanding that permanent clash, that friction, it feels like the key to so many modern anxieties.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, when everything feels too big, too chaotic, totally beyond our control, the political noise, the climate crisis, the economy.
All of it.
Camus gives you a philosophical bedrock to understand why we feel so adrift. He validates that quiet panic that I think we all feel sometimes.
Okay, so let's really get into this. Let's unpack this concept of the absurd. You mentioned the emotional hook, that feeling of quiet panic. I think pretty much everyone has felt this, even if they've never read a page of philosophy. It's that moment, right? It's usually late at night, you're alone.
Always late at night.
And you just mentally pull back the curtain on your daily life, the job, the mortgage, the relationship drama, and you just see for a second that all those structures are, well, they're arbitrary.
They're made up.
We just made them up as a society. They have no cosmic backing. It is the moment the scaffolding just falls away, and you realize you're just floating in open space. We spend our whole lives building towards these external goals,
Right.
promotion, the perfect house, the retirement plan.
Right.
And we operate on this unspoken belief that these things will deliver some kind of deep, internal, soul-satisfying reward.
But they don't, or at least not always.
The disappointment can be profound. You finally get the big promotion, and the feeling isn't satisfaction. It's just a hollow thud.
You're still just you, staring at the same window, feeling exactly the same, maybe even a little more lost than before.
That is the devastating moment of realizing the absurd. The goal didn't change the fundamental existential reality.
It's like you've spent years climbing Mount Everest, this monumental effort, and you get to the summit and there's just a sign that says, out of order, try again later.
Exactly. All that effort for something that on a cosmic scale means absolutely nothing.
So this is where we need to really define the key idea, the absurd. You said it's not depression, it's not nihilism.
Right, I have to keep stressing this because it's the most common mistake people make. Nihilism says nothing matters, so all actions are equally worthless. It leads to apathy or destruction. Camus completely rejects that.
He rejects the passivity.
He says, yes, nothing matters in the grand external scheme, but that fact is only half of the equation.
So what's the other half? What makes it a clash and not just a sad conclusion?
Okay, so the absurd is what he calls the electric clash between two perfectly matched, irreconcilable forces. Think of it like two north poles of a magnet. They will repel each other forever.
Okay, I'm with you.
Force one, us. Our intrinsic, undeniable human hunger for purpose. We are meaning-making machines. We can't stop searching for a story that makes sense of our lives, our suffering.
I look for patterns. We look for a point to it all.
Constantly. And force two. The universe is cold silence. The cosmos offers zero answers, zero moral guidance, zero confirmation that we matter. It just is.
So it's this permanent state of philosophical friction. You can't stop asking the question.
And you can't make the universe answer. And Camus says our integrity, our entire philosophical project lies in choosing to live right there, in that unresolvable tension.
It's a form of intellectual honesty, then.
The highest form. And that's where the freedom begins. The second you stop demanding that the universe makes sense according to your rules, you stop agonizing over why it keeps failing to deliver.
You realize the expectation was the problem from the start.
Yes. The failure wasn't yours or the universe's. It was the faulty expectation for an external answer.
It's like finally realizing you've been searching for the TV remote in your neighbor's house. It's strangely relieving.
It's the relief of saying, okay, the situation is tragic, but at least now I finally know the truth.
Let's make this concrete.
Yeah.
The modern example you brought up is, it's perfect. Doom scrolling.
It's a profound, everyday manifestation of that absurd clash. We've all been there.
Oh, yeah. 2 a.m, your face is lit up by your phone, and you're just scrolling, desperately looking for context, for the one article, the one data point, the one post that will finally explain the political chaos, or the climate crisis, or the economic instability.
You are searching for meaning in the chaos. And what does the digital world give you back?
Infinity. Just more.
An endless, chaotic, algorithm-driven feed of conflicting information. Just think about trying to follow a complex U.S. national crisis. You have an infrastructure bill that's tied up in political deadlock, which is connected to corporate lobbying, which is influenced by climate change models.
And you're looking for the one thing, the answer key, that ties it all together into a neat package.
But the more you scroll, the more you realize the sheer volume of it all just creates this profound sense of futility, of being overwhelmed. The problem's too big, the systems are too complex, there's no single villain or hero who can fix it.
And that's the universe's cold indifference, just delivered through a screen.
It is. Your human hunger for a coherent solution is met by the digital age's endless silence. You can scroll forever. You will never get to the bottom. You will never find the ultimate truth.
And the final insult, really, is that the chaos is now a business model. It's curated to keep you searching, to keep you engaged in that futile quest.
It's the perfect, modern, data-driven mirror of the absurd. And recognizing that we are permanently in this state, that's the first step. That's the prerequisite for what comes next.
It's the diagnosis.
Exactly. Once you recognize the clash, you have to ask yourself, how do I respond? You can't just stay frozen in that 2 a.m. panic. You have to move.
That was a deep dive into the very definition of the absurd clash. If you're finding this perspective shift as liberating as we are, please remember to like, subscribe, and share for more update and continue to next.
Okay, so we've established a diagnosis. The absurd clash is the permanent, unresolvable friction between us and the universe.
We know the problem. So now we have to move from just recognizing it to responding to it. This is the big pivot, right? From acceptance to action. The emotional starting point you mentioned is the first defiant smile after a breakup text.
Chuckles. Yes.
Oh.
It's that sudden internal shift where you just choose self-possession over despair. You choose yourself.
Because if all you do is recognize the absurd,
Yeah.
you're just a victim of it.
A philosophical victim, exactly. Camus demands action. The absurd man, as he calls him, has to respond with revolt. And this is a word we really need to spend some time on because it is so easily misunderstood.
Right. Revolt sounds like anger, like violence, like trying to punch the universe in the face, as you said.
Which is futile, right. It's not blind anger. It's not an attempt to change the universe. It's something much more subtle and much more powerful. It's an internal, continuous assertion.
So if it's not outward-focused rage, how does it actually manifest? What does it look like?
Revolt is the continuous, principled act of choosing to push anyway, fully aware that it's futile. It's a human assertion of value in the face of cosmic meaninglessness. You know, the effort is ultimately pointless on a cosmic timescale. The universe does not care if you succeed or fail. But you do it because the effort itself defines you. It's a principled refusal to let the universe's silence be the final word on human worth.
It sounds like the highest form of self-respect. It's saying, okay, the cosmos might be silent, but I choose to create value right here through my actions, through my effort.
That's it exactly. And this is why he uses the ultimate example of futile labor, Sisyphus.
The guy condemned by the gods to push a boulder up a hill for eternity, only to have it roll back down every single time.
The famous mythical sketch of the hero who says yes to the rock, the hill, and the endless climb. He's condemned to this eternal, repetitive, fruitless labor. But, and this is the key phrase from our sources, Sisyphus isn't punished. He's promoted to legend.
Okay, I have to pause you there. Because that sounds good, but how does he turn eternal torture into a promotion without, cheating, without just putting a happy face sticker on a terrible situation?
It's an essential challenge, and it gets right to the heart of absurdism versus, say, just nihilism or even toxic positivity.
Right. Isn't saying Sisyphus is happy just the kind of self-help affirmation that contradicts the ruthless honesty we just talked about?
It would be, if his happiness was based on a delusion. Sisyphus is not happy because he's tricked himself into believing that one day the rock will stay at the top.
He has no hope.
Zero hope. He's happy because he achieves full consciousness of his fate, and through that consciousness, he maintains his internal sovereignty. The gods might control the rock's physical destiny, but they cannot control Sisyphus's attitude toward his labor.
So his revolt is in his lucidity, his clarity.
Yes. Most people, you could argue, are Sisyphus without even realizing it.
Yeah.
They're pushing their own metaphorical rock every day, the quarterly reports, the PTA meetings, the endless cycle of expectations.
Believing that this time the reward will finally stick, that this promotion or this accomplishment will be the one that finally brings lasting satisfaction.
Exactly. Sisyphus knows better. He is enlightened. His value isn't in the result, which is impossible. It's found entirely in the action, in the climb itself, and the consciousness with which he performs it.
That small space of internal freedom, of internal attitude, is the entire battlefield.
That's where the absurd man wins his freedom. The gods sentenced him to push the rock. Sisyphus sentenced himself to understand it.
This translates so well to the modern American work experience, especially the kind of repetitive, metrics-driven jobs that are so common now, which brings us to the gig economy hero.
It's a perfect modern parallel to Sisyphus. Think about the high-rated TaskRabbit specialist, or the DoorDash driver in a city like New York or LA, navigating impossible traffic, trying to optimize their route down to the second.
They're constantly performing these small, repetitive, but essential tasks, dancing between shifts, as the source material puts it.
And the system that manages them, the app, the platform, it reduces them to an input in an algorithm. Their effort is tracked, priced, and optimized by the minute. But the larger corporate structure offers them zero existential meaning. There's no mission statement that makes sense of it.
It's the definition of constant effort without a traditional, meaningful reward structure. It's just the next task.
Right. And think about the absurdity of the micro-optimizations. Spending 45 minutes looking for a parking spot in downtown Manhattan to make a 5-minute delivery.
A perfect micro-Sisyphusian push.
And the system treats them as disposable, as interchangeable. But their revolt is found in the dignity they impose on their own process. It's in their efficiency, their commitment to their own self-imposed standards, the pride they take in their routing knowledge.
Even though the system just sees them as a pin on a map.
Exactly. The system says, you are a delivery mechanism for our data. But the absurd worker says, no, I am the most efficient, highest-rated, self-managed, logistical expert in this 5-mile radius. I am committed to my excellence, not your stock price.
So they find the meaning in the immediate, self-imposed structure, in the pride of the craft itself.
Yes. They choose their own internal standards for success. They transform a necessary chore into an act of performance, a demonstration of competence. The revolt is that assertion of self against the indifferent automating machine.
They are the heroes who know the task is, in the grand scheme, futile, but they declare, it is meaningful to me right now because I chose to do it well, and I chose to be conscious of that choice.
That is the daily act of revolt that Camus was talking about.
It's a profound decentralization of meaning, then. The corporation doesn't hold the key to your worth anymore.
You reclaim it entirely. Understanding Camus's revolt is vital. It shifts the responsibility for meaning entirely back onto us. If you appreciate how this framework changes your view of work and life, please remember to like, subscribe, and share for more update and continue to next.
Okay, so we've accepted the clash of the absurd, and we've embraced revolt as the active response. But that leads us to what feels like the most dangerous part of his work, which is the constant, tempting alternative to the struggle, the easy way out, both literally and philosophically. The emotional hook our sources used was that moment you almost text your ex, but don't.
Yeah, Chuck. Yes. That moment of weakness where you almost surrender to a toxic but comfortable familiar pattern.
You almost give in.
You almost give in. And Camus opens the myth of Sisyphus by tackling literal suicide head-on. He calls it the only truly serious philosophical problem.
And he says it's the ultimate concession, right? The admission that the absurd is just too much to bear.
Exactly. It's admitting defeat. But he saves his true condemnation for what he calls the key idea, philosophical suicide. This is the more insidious danger because it disguises itself as life-affirming.
So unpack that for us. What is philosophical suicide? What is this leap he talks about?
Philosophical suicide is the act of willingly sacrificing your intellectual honesty for comfort. It's when you accept a ready-made religious system or a political ideology or any dogmatic framework that promises ultimate external meaning.
You're taking a leap of faith.
You are. You're pretending the void has a user manual, as our sources put it so perfectly. Instead of living in that permanent, difficult tension of the absurd, you just jump over the tension entirely by adopting a system of absolute external truth.
And for Camus, this is a profound betrayal. It's a betrayal of the absurd man's core principle of integrity.
It is. Because if you adopt a faith that guarantees an afterlife or a political ideology that guarantees a future utopia, you kill the tension instantly.
You stop asking the hard question.
You stop asking because the system has given you all the answers. You've substituted certainty for the constant, difficult search that, for Camus, is what defines our humanity.
He's so rigorous about this. He basically says, if you accept anything that resolves the absurd, you are destroying your own awareness. You're pretending the silent universe finally spoke to you.
And the core danger is that it's always the easier path. Killing the question is easier than living the answer.
And living the answer means what?
It means sustained awareness of the absurd. It requires constant vigilance, intellectual rigor, and accepting the difficult, terrifying freedom that comes from knowing there are no ultimate guardrails.
And you see this desperate search for certainty everywhere in modern American culture.
Oh, everywhere. In a world that feels increasingly fragmented and chaotic, we crave the guaranteed outcome, the 5-step plan, the formula for happiness.
Which leads directly to our modern tie-in in U.S. example, the self-help certainty trap.
Yes. Think about the explosion of things like manifestation TikToks, or some of the more extreme corners of the self-help industry that essentially guarantee success if you just follow a specific mental formula.
Right, the idea that if you just focus hard enough, visualize enough, raise your vibration,
then wealth, or success, or love is guaranteed. It's cosmic law. This is philosophical suicide delivered in a motivational seminar.
It promises cosmic certainty. It implies that random chance, tragedy, and fundamental meaninglessness aren't real. They're just obstacles you fail to visualize away correctly.
It offers a cosmic operating manual where the rock will roll itself to the top of the hill, as long as you use the right affirmation or mental trick. It completely bypasses the struggle.
And that's the problem for Camus. It sidesteps the uncomfortable truth that life is fundamentally contingent. It's unfair, it doesn't respond to our desires.
Adopting a dogma like that, whether it's religious, political, or self-help, is a refusal to look into the mirror of the void. You are trading your difficult freedom for a comforting delusion.
But let me challenge you on this because I want to connect it back to Sisyphus. If Sisyphus says, "I choose to be happy," isn't that just a sophisticated version of a self-help affirmation?
That is a brilliant question.
Why isn't his choice a form of philosophical suicide?
Okay, the distinction is absolutely critical, and it lies in the foundation of that happiness. Philosophical suicide denies the absurdity. It posits an external meaning to solve the problem. Sisyphus's happiness, on the other hand, depends on the full acknowledgement of the absurdity.
He is happy because he knows the rock is coming down, not in spite of it. He knows he has no hope of ultimate success, so his joy isn't rooted in expectation or delusion. It's rooted in his lucid awareness and his act of defiance.
So if the self-help guru says, be positive and the universe will give you what you want, that's the leap.
That's the leap.
But if Sisyphus says, I will push this rock with everything I have, knowing it will fail because the effort itself is mine, that's revolt.
Precisely. It's the difference between optimism and courage. One is rooted in delusion, the other is rooted in lucidity. Camus demands honesty above all else. Philosophical suicide kills that honesty. Sisyphus's clarity affirms it.
The rejection of easy answers is perhaps the hardest discipline. If this segment has challenged how you approach certainty, please remember to like, subscribe, and share for more update and continue to next. So, we've defined the clash, we've chosen revolt, and we've rejected the easy way out of philosophical suicide. Now we get to the very heart of the essay.
The climax. The moment of clarity. The image we used was the exhale after the gym, PR, painful, perfect, yours. The pain of the effort is transmuted into this moment of pure personal triumph.
That analogy is perfect because the pain was real, the effort was maximal, but the satisfaction belongs entirely to you. It's internal, it's sovereign, and it's temporary, which is exactly why it matters so much.
And Camus focuses on this specific moment, the key idea, the descent.
Yes. He zooms in on the exact second Sisyphus turns back down the slope. Not the push-up, but the walk down. This is where the philosophy crystallizes.
Why that moment? Why the walk away from the effort? Why isn't the critical moment when the rock is like teetering at the very peak?
Because the ascent is labor. The descent is cognition. On the way up, Sisyphus is bound to his task. He is pure physical effort. But in the descent, the rock is gone, it's rolling away, and Sisyphus is free.
He's free to think.
He's free to contemplate. In that moment, he's superior to his fate because he is conscious of it. That walk down the hill is his self-appointed philosophical retreat.
So he uses the downtime, literally, to achieve intellectual mastery. He sees the rock, he sees the hill, he sees the endless cycle. And because he knows it, fully and without illusion, he masters it.
The gods thought their punishment was condemning him to a meaningless task.
But they were wrong.
Because consciousness turns torment into triumph. By fully accepting the futility, by understanding the precise limits of his world, he achieves intellectual mastery over the punishment. He transforms it from a meaningless task into a purely human value. The value of knowing, of awareness, of revolt.
The punishment becomes his self-chosen destiny.
Exactly. He finds his value not in hope, but in the certainty of his own awareness. And that is the ultimate act of defiance, acknowledging your fate while absolutely refusing to be defined by it.
The physical reality doesn't change. The rock rolls down every single time. But the subjective internal reality, the meaning he assigns to it, is entirely his own.
He is the master of his own internal landscape. And because he has rejected hope, the only thing left for him is the passion of the effort and the satisfaction of his self-mastery. The physical pain is still there, but the metaphysical suffering, that struggle to find meaning, is gone. It's resolved by his lucidity.
He has won the internal war.
He's won. And that is why, Camus concludes, one must imagine Sisyphus happy.
Not happy because the rock is gone, but happy because he is greater than the rock.
Yes.
This idea of conscious mastery over suffering is so pervasive today, especially in the way we broadcast our lives. Which brings us to the modern tie-in in U.S. example, speedrunning trauma.
This is a fascinating and very recent sociological phenomenon.
Yeah.
Historically, grief or trauma was something processed privately over long periods of time.
Right.
But in the digital age, there's a kind of cultural pressure to immediately turn deep, painful personal experience into public narrative content, to create an instant digestible arc for public consumption.
You see this all the time. The content creator on TikTok or Instagram Live who details a profound crisis, a painful breakup, a chronic illness diagnosis, a major career failure, and then immediately structures it into a neat 3-act story of failure and redemption.
They are, in effect, speedrunning their own trauma.
Mm.
And while the motivation is often about seeking connection and support, the philosophical form this takes is incredibly Camusian.
How so?
They're transforming private torment into a public statement of survival and awareness. The individual is exercising maximum conscious control over the narrative of their own suffering.
Just like Sisyphus, who knows the rock will roll down, the trauma speedrunner knows the suffering was real and random. But they reclaim power by becoming the authoritative author of that story.
They're posting a selfie with the boulder. They're transforming the event from something that happened to them into a statement of self-mastery over the event.
They turn the chaos of tragedy into an ordered, consumable narrative. And in doing that, they achieve a kind of triumph over the meaninglessness of the initial suffering.
They're essentially declaring, the suffering was random and unfair, but my understanding of it, my ability to articulate it, and my survival of it, that is entirely mine. I choose the meaning of this pain. It's the moment of descent, but applied to the digital sphere. The moment of lucidity is immediate and public.
It's a powerful illustration of that human need to impose order on chaos. And the force of consciousness, the moment we realize that even if we can't control what happens to us, we can control how we narrate it.
The power of Sisyphus is found in his return journey, in the sheer force of his awareness. If this deeper dive into conscious suffering resonates with you, please remember to like, subscribe, and share for more update, and continue to next.
We have finally reached the end of the journey, and it feels like the most liberating part. This is where Camus stops describing the philosophy and starts giving us a manifesto for action.
Yes, the so what section.
The ultimate consequence of accepting the absurd. I love the emotional battle cry we used for this. Quitting the job, dyeing the hair, booking the one-way ticket. It's that feeling of radical freedom that comes from knowing the slate is clean.
Camus is so inspiring here. Because if there is no ultimate judgment, no cosmic referee keeping score, and no predetermined meaning, then the individual is entirely free to live their life as vividly and intensely as they possibly can. This is the key idea. Quantitative living.
Quantitative living, that implies volume, right? A multiplication of experience. What does that actually mean for the absurd man?
It means that since there's no qualitative meaning, no meaning handed down from God or fate or historical progress, then the value of life must lie in the sheer quantity of experience.
Okay.
We have to embrace freedom, passion, and variety. We have to maximize our consciousness of every present moment. Camus says we should live so vividly that the gods themselves take notes.
So the goal isn't to find the one great purpose that justifies your whole life. It's about accumulating as many intense, conscious moments as possible. Friendships, art, love, arguments, travel.
Breadth and depth, not a singular destiny.
Ah.
And this requires constant, active engagement. I love this line. The rock is rolling, catch it or become it.
Mm-hmm.
Active engagement is mandatory. Because passive living, for Camus, is just another form of philosophical suicide. You're just wasting the one shot you have to assert your freedom.
So let's synthesize the toolkit he gives us. What are the 3 essential consequences we have to embrace once we accept the absurd?
Okay, so first, we have revolt. That continuous assertion of human value against the universe's indifference. The refusal to despair.
Got it.
Second, freedom. The absence of inherent meaning frees us from imposed morality, from dogma, from all societal expectations of what a life should look like. We are free to invent our own values.
You know, that's the one that feels so destabilizing in our society. We feel so bound by the expectations of the American dream, the career ladder, the stability, the wealth.
Of course.
To realize that none of that is mandated by the universe, that it's all just a societal agreement, an arbitrary set of rules, it's scary, but it's also immensely freeing.
And that leads to the third consequence, which is passion. The multiplication of experience, the intense focus on the present moment. Because we know our time is finite and valuable only to us, we have to live every second intensely. The absurd man isn't looking for salvation tomorrow. He's focused entirely on today's conquest.
And it takes so much courage to walk away from that imposed stability, the safe path, and choose a life fueled by self-generated value instead. Which brings us to our final modern tie-in U.S. example, the side hustle that outlives the 9-to-5.
This narrative is becoming so common in the U.S., especially with millennials and Gen Z. The story of someone leaving a lucrative but existentially draining corporate career in tech, finance, whatever, to launch a passion project that eventually scales into a full-time, self-directed business.
And from a conventional perspective, that decision looks absurdly risky. You're trading a six-figure salary and benefits for total precarity. Your parents are probably saying, "You're throwing it all away."
And yet it perfectly embodies the Camusian principle. That individual is consciously rejecting the externally imposed structure, the salary, the title, the stability, which provided them no internal satisfaction.
The corporate job was Sisyphus's boulder, but they were pushing it for someone else, without consciousness.
Yes, and the side hustle, even if it's riskier and makes less money at first, becomes their new self-chosen boulder. It's a revolt against institutionalized meaning. It's the individual maximizing their experiences, quantitative living, by choosing the path that feels most authentic to their own internal code, no matter what the world thinks.
They're living by their own metrics.
And that new life, born from rebellion, often outlives the original, supposedly stable structure because it's fueled by the individual's conscious self-generated passion. They have chosen conquest over comfortable stagnation. It is the ultimate statement. I will define the terms of my own existence, even if those terms are absurdly difficult.
It's the ultimate permission slip to be fully human. Hashtag outro. Wow.
Yeah.
This has been an incredibly rigorous and honestly a profoundly uplifting deep dive. We started by defining the absurd as that electric clash between our need for meaning and the universe's silence. Then we moved through the defiant figure of the absurd man, we navigated past the temptation of philosophical suicide, and we landed on the conscious triumph of Sisyphus turning back down that slope.
And if we tie it all together, I think this philosophy is such a powerful antidote to a lot of modern despair. It doesn't try to tell you that your feeling of futility is wrong, that sense that the systems are too big and indifferent.
It validates it.
It completely validates it, but at the same time, it demands radical responsibility for the quality of your own existence.
And what really stands out is that profound shift in perspective. The great weight of existence doesn't have to crush you. It can actually ground you.
Yes.
It forces you to build your own temporary human-scale values, friendship, art, passion, personal excellence, because those are the only ones that really matter.
You realize that the absence of external meaning is the greatest gift of freedom. It means no external authority can tell you how to live. Camus gives us permission to stop searching for the grand, capital A answer, and to start actively creating our own small answers right here in the present moment.
Realizing that those small acts of revolt are, in themselves, the greatest triumphs.
That's the whole game.
So we'll leave you with this final provocative thought, building on everything we've just discussed. If the universe offers no guidance, and true freedom lies in accepting that silence, what deeply ingrained, seemingly stable belief structure in your own life about your career, your family, or your purpose are you now ready to view as just another boulder waiting to be consciously pushed?
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the heart of the absurd. We hope this exploration has given you a moment of clarity and perhaps a defiant smile.
Until next time, keep digging.